King Khalid wanted to buy my bird. The bird actually was killed, and another Arab gentleman was asking me if he could buy the bird to stuff it and put it in a bell jar on his desk. I refused, and he kept calling me, and finally I told him that I would give him my dead falcon, which he could stuff and put on his desk on one condition. I said, okay, I want you to kill your son, give him to me, I'll stuff him, and he stopped calling me.
Yes, he is addicted to falcons, and I don't think that's entirely bad. Have somebody to protect them.
This should not be taken away from us. Politicians, diplomats, and government heads of state are involved in smuggling these badges. The best of them sell for more than $1 million.
It's not like he's coming and he's making allegations. There is heavy documentation, yet nobody was willing to act upon it. Why not? It's money.
The entire 9/11 operation was not funded out of bin Laden's personal pocket. It was not funded by Taliban. It was funded out of the Gulf.
These are Al-Qaeda's boardroom.
The falconry camps are just a metaphor for the way business is done in the Middle East.
I was supplying and training the Falcons, without which these camps could not exist. I'm interested in falcons, but I've been sucked into a whirlpool of intrigue involving terrorism, against my will, against my interest. But what do you do when you walk in a room and you see a falcon and a terrorist? You can report it, but then what do you do when nobody wants to hear it?
But you did have a meeting with Osama bin Laden, as I understand.
Here's a guy who bumps into Osama bin Laden. I met him 5 or 6 times.
Our country is still the target of terrorists who want to kill many.
But nobody in U.S. intelligence ever wants to meet the one individual who apparently is able to walk in and sit down with Osama bin Laden at will. That's astonishing.
He was all excited, and he said, I can become, his staff advisor was saying, you can become the next president if you help Alan bring bin Laden back. We discussed that we were going to give him a share of the rewards for justice money, which is $50 million. He was all excited, but then he said twice, he said, I cannot ask permission from Leon Panetta to work with you to get bin Laden out of Iran, but I can ask my good friend Leon Panetta if he has any objections. You're still there, sir?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. And so he spoke to Leon Panetta on 2 occasions. We got it back in writing and verbally that Leon Panetta told him, focus on North Korea only. And in the second conversation, he said, do not pursue bin Laden in Iran. Now,
I'm sure of that.
Yeah. Now, I have had daily discussions and negotiations with the highest level of the Iranian government. It's been supervised by my attorney so that I'm not breaking the federal laws on subverting the policies of the U.S. State Department. I have had 88 pages of correspondence translated and delivered directly to President Ahmadinejad. In this correspondence, I am analyzing and discussing 6 scenarios for bin Laden's transfer to U.S. custody. I'm discussing 5 concessions from the United States and analyzing them. We have proof that Ahmadinejad has received the material. There is one man at the United Nations who's been designated in the Iranian mission to the UN to deal with me exclusively. I'm putting together a bipartisan coalition to go to Iran to discuss bin Laden's transfer to the United States.
Well, you'll never have that happen because our government won't let that happen.
You were very astute. Yesterday I had a conference call with Senator Susan Collins' people, and it included Brandon Milhorn, who's on the Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee, also Robert Strayer and Molly Wilkinson. My request to Collins is that we get Collins and Lieberman and you to accompany us to the Oval Office to tell the president that this is a ticking time bomb, and if they will not, that he's got to designate you and Susan Collins and Lieberman to negotiate with Iran. And if he will not do so, we will go public about this in a way, because we've now determined without any doubt, I've got the proof, that Hillary Clinton's fingerprints are all over this policy. She has actually inherited the policy from the Bush administration and enlarged it. Hillary Clinton.
Oh, Hillary, yes.
There were three. What's that?
I'm going to the airport now to pick up Brian Ettinger, who's one of my partners. Brian is Joe Biden's closest friend, was his first staff director. Wait till I pick him up. I would ask you to call me back. Let me have a conference call with Brian in the car with you. I'm in my car, just myself, and I'll have Brian. He just called me, which means he landed. So I'll have him in the car in 15 minutes.
You want me to call you in 15 minutes, sir?
Call this number back, and you'll be with myself and Brian Ettinger.
Okay.
Ettinger is Biden's closest friend. He meets with Biden monthly. He was his first legislative director, and he's an attorney. More importantly, Brian is the unpaid chairman of the interagency organized crime task force for the U.S., which he does for Biden, which means he works with all of our agencies. And Biden sends them on secret missions, the most recent of which was to Pakistan, without the State Department involved. Now, you can't mention that while I have Brian on the phone, but I'm telling you that to give you an idea of who he is.
Yes, sir.
So call me back in, he just called, so he's probably getting off the plane now. Give me 15 minutes and then call back.
Very good. I will call you in 15 minutes, and also, sir, privately between us, if we can work out a cooperative agreement, I will share a significant percentage of the rewards for justice.
I've always said that. And you know, Alan, let me say this. You told my daughter it was about money. It's really never been about money. You know, I had my daughter's house invaded by the FBI. You've never had that done. They did that to my daughter that you talked to 2 weeks before my election, and they never talked to her. And that intimidation and that threat, I know they've talked to you, but you've never had that done publicly. That was done to me.
Yes.
My book will be out this year, which is being written by a U.S. attorney,
Yes.
23, who is Brian Ettinger's best friend, because he wants to bring out the truth, which is going to rock this country to its roots. So that's been my concern all along. The 5-year statute on being able to do anything against me ends this year.
I'm a big supporter of you, sir, and I never wanted to offend anybody, and forgive me for calling your daughter.
No, I thought you talked to her, but, you know, you told her that it was about money. My daughter's house was raided by the FBI 2 weeks before. That's what it's about.
I see.
It's about me not wanting my family abused.
I understand, yeah.
They never talked to her.
Yeah.
They raided her to create an incident to get me out of office.
Yes.
Partly because I was dealing with you. I don't know.
Well,
I know the CIA set me up because I know the names of the people in the agency from other friends. So it's not, I mean, obviously I can't work for free, but it's more about my stability and my security and my family's security. But let me have this call with Brian.
Yes.
It's now 11:35 Eastern Time.
Yes.
Call me back at 11:50 when I have him in the car.
I will call you at 11:50.
Thanks, Al.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
The principals convened yesterday around midday. There were others we were here early yesterday morning. The president joined us then early afternoon before the operation got underway. When the operation did get underway, then the president rejoined the group, and we were able to monitor on a real-time basis the progress of the operation from its commencement to its time on target, to the extraction of the remains, and to then the egress off of the target. It was probably one of the most anxiety-filled periods of time, I think, in the lives of the people who were assembled here yesterday. The minutes passed like days, and the President was very concerned about the security of our personnel. That was what was on his mind throughout, and we wanted to make sure that we were able to get through this and accomplish the mission. But it was clearly very tense, a lot of people holding their breath, and there was a fair degree of silence as it progressed, as we would get the updates. And when we finally were informed that those individuals who were able to go in that compound and found an individual that they believe was bin Laden, there was a tremendous sigh of relief that what we believed and who we believed was in that compound actually was in that compound and was found. And the President was relieved once we had our people and those remains off target.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Zev Brent. Very pleased to have with us intelligence specialist. He hosted a show for quite a few years with us on the Talkline Communications Network. His new book is America's Nazi Secret, John Loftus. So good to have you back. How you doing, John?
I'm doing well, Zev. I'm out in Los Angeles. I was the speaker at the Los Angeles Holocaust Monument memorial event yesterday, and I just finished writing a new article for Ami Magazine. It'll be out Wednesday in New York City on the hunt for bin Laden, the real story.
So what's the real story? We're getting one that's being played up in the press regarding, how we did it without Pakistan, and pretty much Navy SEALs came in, and he's lived in this posh palace, and he hid behind a woman. So is there something else that we don't know about? At least that's not so public.
Yeah, there's a lot more. The Bush administration was told repeatedly where Osama bin Laden was. He vacationed in Iran. We even had an electronic tracker on the guy, but they did not want him captured. It would be too embarrassing to Bush's father, and too many things would come out. So for 8 years, we did nothing. Obama reversed the order, and in 1,000 days, less than 1,000 days, Osama was dead.
Wow.
But that was the order. They didn't want him captured, so there would be no embarrassment to the Bush family if he were put on trial. So the orders that Obama gave were shoot to kill.
Now, in your opinion, was he there with the complicity of the Pakistani army? They say his...
Oh, yeah, he was almost across the street from the Pakistani version of West Point. What happened is Bush the Elder, when he was vice president, had cooked up a deal to take money out of the CIA budget and move it through the Saudis into the Pakistani intelligence service. And the Pakistanis then would hire whatever terrorist group of their choice to be the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. So Osama bin Laden not only knew he was safe with the Pakistani military, they were not only his friends, they were his paymasters.
Wow. So it's known. So how does this change things now? So all these years, did the Bush administration know where he was and didn't want to go after him? Did they just...
I couldn't believe this. I actually had a guy that had an electronic tracker in Osama's entourage. Couldn't give it away. And, finally one of the guys told me, we don't want to hear about it. It's just too embarrassing. Just going to the elevator so we can do the connection here.
Yeah, I for a second it sounded like that they were interfering. So the question I have for you, John, is, so it may have been embarrassing for the father, but for the son, he would have gone out in a blaze of glory from being present where he had such dismal numbers and people were poking fun at his administration, and would have helped Republicans. It might have even helped elect John McCain, possibly, depending on the timing.
It certainly would have been in America's best interest to have Osama bin Laden captured as soon as possible. But I think that President Bush didn't want to embarrass his father. And it was his father that set up the whole money laundering process to Osama bin Laden. It was, and then Bush Sr. was a partner with the bin Laden family in the Carlyle Group.
No, I hear you, John, and maybe that's why members of bin Laden family after 9/11 were spurred out of this country pretty much right away, right? That was the story.
Oh, absolutely. There were FBI agents that wanted to interview them, and they were just grabbed and taken out. But I think Obama did the right thing. Rather than tear the nation apart by putting the Bush's father and son in front of the grand jury, maybe it's better just to have killed Osama and made an end to it.
But John,
we're going to put it behind us and move on.
But I want
anyway, I have the whole
story.
I got the whole story laid out in Army magazine on Wednesday. It'll be on newsstands in New York. I write a weekly column for them now, and that's where you can find out some of the real interesting stuff. You read Army magazine.
I do. It's a great publication, and actually I made an introduction for Army magazine where I'm glad that you're together with them, which is fantastic. But I don't want to belabor the point, John, but something intriguing over here. I understand the Bush the son didn't want to embarrass Bush the father, but when he had such dismal ratings and everybody was down on him and dumping on him, he would have gone on a blaze of glory, and he would have ensured possibly a Republican administration, or even today. So at the end of the day, wouldn't it have made sense? Because if the Democrats would have taken power, the chances are they would have found Osama, which they did. So anyway, he couldn't stop it forever.
There was a problem, sir. Bush Younger owed a debt to the same Saudis that laundered the money to the bin Laden people. The Arabs in Florida were told to turn out and vote for Bush over Gore. Even though they weren't registered to vote, they weren't citizens, but they voted anyway. None of them were ever prosecuted. This was a real ugly secret for both Bush Sr. and the last President Bush.
So why didn't the story get out? Because people are always looking, Democrats are always looking to hound and to discredit President Bush Jr. as well as Sr. So why is the story not gotten out?
Well, I've worked with a group of people that were trying to, quite frankly, track and kill Osama bin Laden. And I think that Bush was a nice guy who was in over his head. Ken Timmerman wrote a book saying that, the intelligence community, quite frankly, sabotaged Bush. I think that's possible. Ken Timmerman called me, he said, John Loftus, the pugnacious writer who takes on both Republicans and Democrats equally. I think people want to know the truth about bin Laden. History doesn't belong to the Republicans or the Democrats. It is what it is. And we've just got to start telling people the truth about American relationship with Osama bin Laden. It's sad, but some of this stuff happened.
What else have you uncovered?
Well, the Bush administration, Vice President Bush, laundered money out of the CIA budget and went to the Saudis. And the Saudi charities that Vice President Bush set up in the Reagan administration also were used to launder money from America to terrorist groups. The charity was called the IIIT, the International Institute for Islamic Thought. And it's the only money laundering group for terrorism that's never been indicted. And it can't be because it's off limits, because Vice President Bush used it as a conduit to move money to the Mujahideen back in the war against Russia in Afghanistan.
Unbelievable. That's and this is all documented.
Yeah, I'm afraid it is. It's an ugly little story, but that's what happened.
Now,
so Bush used these guys, and no one in the CIA knew how he was moving the money. So Bush had to protect the Saudis because they were part of his conduits. It went from the Saudis to the Pakistani military. They hired these terrorist groups, and it's a really complicated scandal because the groups that Bush hired to recruit the Mujahideen were the Muslim Brotherhood, in the same group that's trying to take over the nation of Egypt right now. And the Muslim Brotherhood dates all the way back to his grandfather's time. The Muslim Brotherhood was the Nazi party of the Arab world.
And still is, by the way.
And still is, yeah. I mean, but genuine, Hitler loved these guys. He had the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem was the ambassador. And, Hitler briefed the Grand Mufti on his plan. He said the reason for World War II was, the secret reason is to kill all the Jews. And Hitler's aide said, "My Führer, why would you tell such a sensitive secret to this Arab?" And Hitler said, "Because they support our goals so enthusiastically."
Wow. Now, let's go to the flip side. Osama bin Laden surely would have known that a change has taken place. Why would he hide so openly? The conventional wisdom was he's holed up in a cave somewhere hard to find. But he was pretty much smack right in the center, almost like being across. He was across from the police station, the army base.
No, yeah, it was the Pakistani version of West Point. Because during the Bush administration, the Pakistani military intelligence were his paymasters, not just his friends.
So what was his thinking? Is to be so public in such a public place where you could
find... It was the one place he would never be touched because the Pakistani military ran that town.
So what was...
And obviously he was there with their knowledge and consent.
So what was amazing here, in a sense, the United States military kept it a secret from the Pakistani counterparts, able to do this operation, not in league with them, because otherwise it would have been compromised for sure.
Absolutely. Obama knew that we couldn't tell the Pakistanis in advance. So they snuck, they refueled the helicopters in the Afghan border, snuck them in at night. And these are the low-noise helicopters, the paved lows. And they snuck right in and landed right on the roof. One of them had an engine malfunction, and it got down safely, but they had to burn it to get out. And their job was to kill bin Laden on sight. They did that, grabbed his body, took a DNA sample, and then took photographs of his ears and his face to confirm it, and then dumped the body out in the ocean.
Now, should they have dumped the body and do an Islamic ceremony, or should they have done something like people suggested that I'm hearing they should have put a pig with him to make sure that he doesn't go to his version of paradise?
I'm mean. I told my wife that I would have fed Obama to a group of very large pigs and have them digest him, and then taken the night soil and use that as fertilizer at the Rose Garden. But that's just me. She said that would be an insult to all of the nice Islamic people, and she's right. Right. Most people in Islam don't like Osama. He's a heretic against them.
Right, but that's why to give him an Islamic burial. I just thought, because if I'm not mistaken, you would know better than I, John, that the British, when they were fighting, I believe, in Afghanistan, didn't they make it a point of burying some of these traitors, some of these rebels, some of these murderers, purposely in pigskin to ensure that they don't go to their version of paradise?
Yeah, I think that's partly true, but if you did that, you would antagonize a lot of the religious people. But by following the Islamic tradition and burying them even at sea within 24 hours, it was a smart move on Obama's part. Obama's a lot smarter than people give him credit for.
And this was
certainly smarter than the Bush.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a real good operation.
And it's going to help him, I think, immensely. It brings up, in a sense, Osama's death helps Obama politically over the next number of months.
They can't accuse him of being a secret Muslim conspirator anymore, can they? He's the guy. Obama reversed the Bush's hands-off policy. And in less than 1,000 days, Obama gave the order, make him the priority and kill him, and they did.
So let me can I be skeptical for a moment and say, could it be that instead of Donald Trump forcing the president to clear up his Hawaii birth records, could it be the impending killing of Osama bin Laden that he wanted to take that away from the public discussion?
No, I think this was just a happy coincidence that what happened is the Pakistanis gave us some information about the couriers. They didn't pursue it. We did. We recognized the voices. Our computers are better than theirs. And we said, this could really be something. So we developed and researched the angle on our own using Pakistani intelligence information. We came up with a story and went in and hit Osama bin Laden and killed him. And so what are the Pakistanis going to do about it? The Pakistani military didn't protect him. They have egg in their face, but too bad.
Do you believe that the terrorist organization Al Qaeda is going to look to do a super strike right now to avenge and to show that they're still potent?
No, not right now. But again, Osama bin Laden wasn't important to Al Qaeda. He was just a fundraiser. You know, he was like the front man, you know, the frat boy, the equivalent of George Bush. It was a nice guy in terms of the Muslim world, but not really effective. It was the Egyptians under Dr. al-Zawahiri. They're the ones that were the brains and the spine of Al-Qaeda. They're still alive. Al-Qaeda will still function.
So how close are we to getting the real brains and the number 2 man who's now number 1?
Well, we're nowhere. We're nowhere near close to getting them.
And he's
so
hiding.
Saying that
he's hiding in Afghanistan. Is that where he's based right now? Do we know exactly where he is?
We do not. We do not. Unlike Osama bin Laden, we do not know where Dr. al-Zawahiri is. But then the Pakistani military intelligence people seem to be protecting him.
So if we're able to follow the trail from them, we might be able. I'm sure they're going to probably be more cautious now because, in a certain degree, Pakistanis are on some level they're happy that he's gone. On some level, they've been protecting him, and they're not too happy that we did it on our own, on their own soil. That's what the noise.
Oh yeah, because they're saying, "Oh no, what are you hunting for terrorists in Pakistan? We don't have terrorists here." Now, of course, we catch Osama bin Laden here, and he's not the only one we've caught inside Pakistan.
Who else have we caught of significance?
Oh, several of his major deputies were caught. And we know that Mullah Omar is living in Karachi in Pakistan. Yeah. So, I mean, Pakistan is, for a long time, has become a haven. That's why the battle for the Sudan and Yemen is so important, because Al-Qaeda needs a place to go.
Needs a place to go.
The U.S. government is, the U.S. government is telling the Pakistanis, we're not putting up with this anymore. We know that the money to support Al-Qaeda came from a Pakistani charity to the UAE that paid for the training of the people on 9/11. So
maybe they can go to Egypt. Right? There's a rumor that the Hamas may move from Syria to Egypt, right? Or isn't that what it's saying? The chatter that's on the internet these days. So maybe
Hamas was part of the Muslim Brotherhood, as was Al-Qaeda. Okay, in fact, Hamas still gives the same Nazi salute that they did years ago. So the more things change, the more they stay the same. But Zev, I think it's important that Osama bin Laden was killed on the anniversary of Hitler's death.
Hitler's death, and also Yom HaShoah, the day of the commemoration of the Holocaust, all fell on the same day.
So it is a triumph of justice.
So really, it's a good day for us, but we got a lot of work cut out for us, right?
You're not kidding. There's a lot of work ahead.
John Loftus, author of America's Nazi Secret, and the weekly columnist, Ami Magazine. In fact, you can read more detail about the capture of Osama bin Laden in the coming publication of Ami that's coming out this coming Wednesday.
Yep.
John Loftus, thank you for joining with us, former talk show host on the Talkline Communications Network, and The Secret War Against the Jews, still a classic that he wrote, and he has his finger on real intelligence matters, and we look forward to having you back again.
Thank you much. Take care, Zev.
Thank you.
And that's our first overhead viewings of bin Laden walking in the garden. Everybody said he was crippled, but he walked down 3 flights of stairs to walk in a garden to advertise his presence, okay? It was an advertisement. Then the gas line was put on the 3rd floor of the Abbottabad complex in August because his wives had to stay sequestered away from the other men. They had to cook in private without the purdah veil. And other things. One of bin Laden's sons said his father was strangely resigned to dying in Abbottabad. So he was held there in a gilded cage, awaiting his trophy kill. He was moved from Mashhad, Iran, into Abbottabad airport, and then moved to this prison complex, the Abbottabad compound. It was not there to protect him. It was there to keep him there, awaiting his appointment with destiny. But the Iranians turned it into a fateful result because they pulled bin Laden out at the last minute, at the 11th hour, after an Iranian agent, a double agent, a Pakistan ISI officer who worked for Iran covertly, provided the DNA evidence to the CIA station chief. Finally, they were convinced it was bin Laden in Abbottabad, and they sent in SEAL Team 6. And Musharraf said he didn't know about the SEAL Team 6 coming in, but they had to let down the radar long enough for the helicopters to come in. And they only told Obama about the SEAL Team 6 kill mission after the radar was put back up and SEAL Team 6 could not go back into Afghanistan. It was then a one-way trip that could not be canceled. You see, we have a witness who witnessed Hillary and Panetta threatening Obama that if he didn't greenlight the bin Laden kill mission, they would expose him in the press and he would never survive politically. And he actually was reluctant to authorize the kill mission. That's why they pulled him off the golf course only after the mission could not be canceled. And so the agent provocateurs, the engineers of all of this were John Brennan, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden. And when they went in there, trusting the Iranians had bin Laden there waiting for them, SEAL Team 6, your son.
He was retired at that time, actually.
Yes, but the SEAL Team 6, they killed Osama bin Laden's double.
How do we know that?
One of the wives went running towards them before he shot him and said, "Don't shoot, he's a double." I don't know the language she used. And then if you read Cy Hirsch's book, he explains that they threw the body parts over the Hindu Kush mountains. They didn't even save them like they saved the sons of Saddam Hussein in a refrigerated tent, well preserved and with makeup, just to prove that the Wicked Witch was dead. They saved the sons of Saddam Hussein, but they did not save the corpse of Osama bin Laden because it was his double, and it could not handle the scrutiny of DNA testing on the strip.
Okay, so the SEAL team, they knew that it was thrown out of the helicopter.
They learned that it was not bin Laden, and so they threw the body parts over the Hindu Kush mountains. And John Brennan said that the people on the ship were told to keep quiet about the burial at sea, but they all say that they never were told to keep quiet because there was no burial at sea. John Brennan took the lead and made the fake media announcements. He lied to the press when he explained this Muslim burial at sea. It's actually haram. It's forbidden to bury a Muslim at sea unless the body's going to endanger the lives of the crew with disease risk. You know, you can't, because you see in the ocean, the feet, it'll rotate around and the feet will face Mecca. It's haram. You must bury on land with the face facing Mecca. So Brennan, who's a Muslim, you'd think he'd know not to lie about something so obvious. He said it was a Muslim burial at sea. Nonsense. And so this big lie that you see, Biden, Hillary, and Clinton worked this agreement with Iran. They trusted Iran to move bin Laden to Pakistan. He did. He was there. But then they trusted Iran to keep him there. They moved him out back to Iran. And then the communication from Iran to Obama was, hey, we got your neck in a noose. Give us all this money. $152 billion, $2 billion on an airplane pallet was paid out for the secrets I wish to reveal now and to the president under the terms of misprision and treason. That is to say, this is a secret. These are secrets worth $152 billion paid by President Obama, and Vice President Biden paid with the blood of SEAL Team 6 when he had them killed.
So it's blackmail and extortion then.
Blackmail and extortion.
It's the time of the season when love runs high. In this time, give it to me easy, and let me try with pleasured hands to take you in the sun to promised lands, to show you everyone. It's the time of the season for loving. What's your name? Who's your daddy? Is he rich like me? Has he take us anytime to show you what you need to live? Tell it to me slowly, tell you why I really want to know. It's the time of the season for loving. What's your name? Who's your daddy? Is he rich like me? Has he taken any time to show